Good morning. Thank you for joining us for another episode of CEO Talks.
The best unedited stream of aspiring and growing entrepreneurs.
I'm the CEO of FaceTime, Gervais Nelson, alongside my amazing co-host.
Marie Rose, CEO of Rosebud Studios and president of Rose Petals Success. And we are lucky today to have our first guest, Aaliyah Johnson Roberts. And she's going to introduce herself because she's amazing already. We can't even do that. You have to tell us yourself.
Am I telling
You good.
So thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Aaliyah Johnson Roberts. It's funny, I typically struggle with like, okay, what do I do? Who am I? Because if you're one of those people who like, I do all of these things, but I will definitely say first, I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter. I'm such a family person. That's huge. And that also ties into business. So I'm a second generation childcare business owner. So excited. My daughter is in now. She is my exit strategy.
Wow.
Third generation. So I'm so excited. And that allowed me to create this space to take what I learned over the last 16 years in the childcare industry. Prior to that, I was able to live my dream as a fashion buyer. That was one of those things where I always wanted to be in fashion. And I was able to do that. I'm so grateful because my mother, she's been doing childcare since I was young, like 5. And even though she had the business, she didn't put that on me to where as though I had to take on the family business. She gave me space to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I had the opportunity to do that. And full circle moment, I was working at a buying office. I was so excited. I was at Urban Outfitters buying office. And right out of college, I had an internship. I went back to school after I had my daughter, but I went back. And so I was working there, and my mother approached me and wanted me to partner with her in the childcare business. I was raised in childcare, but the only experience I had was summer camp. So I was like, I had a daughter though. And interestingly, at that time, I was the only like mom. And so I wanted to start figuring out how to get my time back.
Yeah.
Because when I say long hours, I was working long hours. And so she wanted me to partner, and I didn't know a lot about childcare. I just found out they couldn't necessarily afford me. And so I was like, well, I'll help you on the side. And I had an offer. I had an offer for another buying office. And the same day I got the offer, and she got the license for this center. And I was like, I have to take this job, but I'll help you. 3 months later, whole department got laid off, shut down. And I will never forget being called into the office. And well, first my supervisor, she never came back. And then another one, she never came back. And everyone's crying. And I remember calling my mom like, I'm on my way. And so it was such a blessing, right? She really prepared this space for me, and I walked right into it. And interestingly, though, I literally was learning on the spot. I walked in as a director, zero experience, zero knowledge of running the childcare business. And so 16 years it took me to help her grow that, right? So the first site capacity of 58. And maybe about 7 years ago, we expanded to Bustleton. So now we serve 250 children every year.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
That is awesome.
It's been like amazing. And so at some point, I think I've been so blessed to have people around me that just supported and really spoke into my life. I will never forget being in a meeting, and they were talking about systems. They were talking about something, and I was like, I have something for that. And I really was sharing with them things that I created in my business.
Yeah.
And a woman, she was at the first Impact Summit. She was on the panel, and she messaged me on the side and said, I'm going to need you to not give that away for free. We need to talk. And
so many times we fall into that. Like we get everything.
Everything. I was like, I got you. She said, do you know how much people are paying for that? So I never saw myself in the space of coaching and consulting until she said that. And I was like, oh. I don't know if you've ever experienced, you think that everyone else is doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
I'm like, everyone
Mhm.
does this. And come to find out, they were like, no.
Yep.
So I say all that to say, I still own my childcare programs, but I now coach and consult other childcare business owners. I'm in this space though. I do not like being in a box. And so the way I run my childcare business is it's a business. I am a
Mhm.
CEO. And
I love
so
that.
Mhm.
like, I'm not just a childcare business owner, but I'm a business owner. And so we had that conversation, and Obiama and I, she's my accountability coach,
Mhm.
and we had the podcast. She challenged me because I was getting into the consulting space.
Yeah.
What you guys are getting right now, a few years ago, like if you ask me a question, I would answer it and I'd be done. And so I had to learn how to go back and forth. And she was like, let's do a podcast. And so we did that for 2 years. And then it was like, we're tired of just being in one space. Let's open it up to entrepreneurs, because I didn't want to just talk to childcare owners. I wanted to talk to business owners. And
here we go.
and here we are.
Yes.
And that is how the Impact Summit came, because we wanted to create our own table and create one space where business owners came to get what they needed, because I didn't necessarily have a space that I knew of to even bring childcare owners with other business owners so that we can just be CEOs. And so those are all of the things that I do.
That's you nailed it.
Who I am.
Yeah.
We can't introduce her.
We wouldn't have did that justice. So we want to say first, full circle, that before we started recording, that the reason that this was created, or how this was created, was because me and Jove sat at a table at your Impact Summit. And now you as our first guest in person. And this is a movement for us. This is full circle because this was created at your Impact Summit. And now we are here impacting others with our second episode on YouTube.
So, like when you're in a room with somebody, you never know what's going on. We were sitting there just talking at the summit and just had an idea and just kind of was just like, hey, you know what? When we do this, you got to come. And here we are living it out full speed.
I love it.
So with that, we have 3 insightful questions. Marie, please tell us what they are.
Okay, question 1. What does a typical day running your business look like? Question 2, how did you identify your target market and attract your first customers? And question 3, what challenges did you encounter while scaling, and how did you overcome them? Please remember, everything we're about to say is general advice shared from our actual experience and research. While you can apply this information to your business, we highly recommend you contact one of us to set up a one-on-one, whether me, myself, Jovace, or Aaliyah, so that you can get information on how we can apply that to your business and meet your needs.
So if you're watching this now, you want to drop the likes, drop the comments, share, of course, subscribe. It's all free, so why not do it? We encourage you to drop your questions in the comment section below. We will respond throughout the week. And who knows, if your question is really, really good, we'll use it as one of our questions to answer live one day next week. With that said, let's boss up and have some fun.
Yes.
Question number 1, we'll give this one to Marie, so we'll show the host as the host.
Sure.
We'll pass over to Marie. Marie will then pass over to you, and then I'll answer last.
Okay.
Marie, this question is for the people in the startup phase, people looking for a few tips or before they dive into business. What does a typical day running your business look like?
Okay, so a typical day of running my business, I have to think, because now it's all meetings. When I first started my business, it wasn't meetings. It was, oh my gosh, how do I get my business out there to tell people I'm here? So it was on social media. It was in Staples or wherever I printed my flyers. It was handing flyers out. That was what a typical day looked like for me, strategizing, writing notes, on social media, YouTube, trying to find free classes, free information. That's what a day looked like. And I don't even know if I can call it a day unless you're talking about 24 hours, because when you first started your business, it wasn't a 9 to 5. It wasn't a cutoff. You didn't know what that boundary was yet, to where, okay, I need not to work past this hour. That because you're going to miss something. You need to know all the information so you can drop it before the next. So for me, it was research. And speaking about my business as much as possible and trying to convince myself that it was real, trying to help myself believe that it was real. And because I had to believe it myself before I can convince people to support me. And that was a process in itself because you want to doubt yourself in the beginning. So that was my day.
How was that?
Oh, that's you nailed it. I was like, that was my day too.
So I'll ask over here to you. Something you can compound onto it, or maybe
Okay.
take a different spin to it.
Okay.
What does a typical day running your business look like?
When I first started it or now?
Let's go for somebody from advice for. You could do either one, whatever you think is most
Okay.
impactful or meaningful for somebody who's in that startup phase, looking for a few tips before they get in business.
Okay, so I'll take the other part because I think Marie Rose nailed it
I think so,
in
too.
regards to listen.
I told you it just spins.
Look, I'm like, that was good. Let me take my pen and paper out. I would say though, after having some time in my business and the confidence came. You're right with like, okay, what am I doing? That question comes up. Even still, I'm not going to act like it is perfect, but after a while, when I gained my footing, my days were still long. I still have to create boundaries, but what I learned was my time needed to be managed better. So I am a big planner. Schedule is really important. I really had to learn the times that I worked best. What are my most productive times?
Like that.
I'm not necessarily a morning person, but I want to be.
I was going to say, not many of us are, but then I remember Gervais.
Are you? Okay, and I remember the summer you were there early and everything. I was just like, look, okay, I'm talking at night. I can go.
Oh, I can go.
Oh, I can be up. The ideas are flowing. But my business operates during the day, so I really have to create a routine. And so, what does my typical day look like? I drop my kids off at school, which is something I had to make sure. So my husband and I are great partners with like drop off, pick up, but I had to be a part of one of them. So because my days can get big, I had to. I'm like, I need to drop them off, start the day off, and I over the years have been able to create the schedule I want. So I work 3 days at my center, and then 2 days I work work on your business. I work from home because then I don't have as many distractions. And so while I'm there, I get to. It can be tough though, right? Working at home, and but I plan on Sundays for the week. Look at whatever I have meetings or anything like that. And then I really have to focus on, right, what do I need to do to make money? What do I need to do to build relationships? And then, what kind of systems and operations. And so I break it up in that way. And then I do have to add in self-care. I literally have to add in moments where, okay, your brain is tired. So for the most part, because I run 2 different types of businesses, at my center, I really do kind of do the same. Relationships, I have a day where it's to go around and see staff. That's a thing. Like they need to see me because sometimes they're like, I haven't seen you in forever. And that's a message like you need to get out there. And so I break my days up in that way, right? Relationships, marketing, meaning sales, and relationship building.
That's different. Like I never even thought of that perspective because usually you hear people break it up by the hour, right? I'll spend a couple hours on this. You have days for operations, days for relationships, and that's huge.
Yeah, I got theme days. And so, and interestingly, I don't know how you guys plan, but I'm a quarterly planner. And so each quarter, when my goals change for the quarter, my calendar changes. So whatever those high level goals are,
This made me feel so much better about myself. I'm gonna be honest. I felt like I had OCD for it. I know I do, but I have a color coded that I will share with you.
I was about to say, yes, he's color coded.
Everything is color coded throughout the day, and every day has a purpose for the same thing. I have a day that is strictly financial, one that is strategy, one that is family, and I have a cutoff hour. I have a rest day, a recovery day. and a physical day. So I thought it was just me. Like, so when you said that, my heart smiled. Like, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because I was thinking for a second, like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with you. You got control issues. You got that stuff. But it has to be that way for me because, like you said, I'm the morning person. I'm there 15 minutes early. I'm high energy, no coffee. It's just natural. So I have to. First thing I do is I wake up. I check my phone. My phone dictates to me what I'm doing that day.
Yep.
I check my emails. From my emails, I go straight into it varies because it could be a job site. I could be going to a meeting. I can go to the gym. I could be doing something. My kids are in college now, so thank God. So it's none of that stuff to worry about anymore. And I may be in the office for some days, sending out some stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so that day can vary from hour to hour, day to day, because depending on what I'm doing at that day, that time, it's going to look different.
Yes.
And then from there, my cutoff hour, my brain shuts down completely. Like around that 3, 4 o'clock hour, 5 o'clock hour. Like right now, that 4 or 5 o'clock hour, my brain just shuts down. It shuts down. Like I can't really.
And that's when I wake up. Okay, I'm like, ooh, ideas is flowing. I got a whole program going. Like
I take a shower, and then that's when I'm like locked into it. I mean, like my family or whoever we're talking about. That's our time to like kind of like the CEO brain turns off. I have to get ready for the next day. So, but my morning start 6 a.m., 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I'm up. I'll try to go to the gym before I start working. So my days can, like during peak season, I'm kind of like an athlete. I wake up at maybe like, if I know I have something to do at 6, I'll try to get at 4:45, 5 o'clock to try to get to the gym, get a quick workout, start my day off, and then I'm full steam ahead that day.
I need that.
So it's a whole nother thing.
I think we all do, Leah. I think.
But you took care of the morning, but like when I in the beginning stage, it was go to work because I had the 9 to 5. You come home from the 9 to 5, and then you sitting there trying to get this business off the ground. And there's no set hours for that. That would run off into the next morning. I'll be at my job the next day. My eyes all red because I tried to up too long and I lost track of time. That was a whole mess when I first started.
Yeah.
But now I finally was able to have some kind of structure and what that day looks like. But I can't wait to share that calendar with y'all. That's a whole mess.
I just got a new one. I'm gonna have to send it. It's a huge calendar. I don't know if you guys it's huge. It's called the Big A calendar. But when I say it's huge because you literally can see your year at a glance.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. Wow. But it comes with color coded like stickers where you can cover the whole day and write on it, but the color codes mean something. Whatever.
Oh, I like that.
Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. I'm sure.
Question number 2. This is for our people who just started their business. Congratulations. Just got that EIN, feeling good about yourself. Just got your business off. You're trying to look for that 5 to 10 year advantage. Welcome. You're in the perfect place because we're here to help. So Maria, we're going to take it first. How do you identify your target market and attract your, how did you identify your target market and attract your first customer?
Okay, so all of my businesses have been created off of stuff I did not like. So, and every time I say that, people are like, what do you mean? Like when I started Event Spaces, I hated that people charged so much money, but the mom or the family who wanted to do a first birthday was about to drop 10 grand or had to walk out because they couldn't do a first birthday. So it had to be something in between a house party and I just don't want these people in my house. So I need to be able to afford a place outside my house. Not everybody wanted to have extravagant parties. So that's what I thought about. I thought of, when I thought of my pricing and who I wanted to have in my space, the pricing was first because that was going to attract my target. And it was the families who just wanted to have family time. I wanted to create a space where people could just say, I want to have a family gathering. And it's not going to cost us to have to do a GoFundMe to do it. And that attracted my target audience. With Rosebud Studios, my target was different. I was doing Event Spaces and I thought, I have a lot of weddings and the wedding parties all get their makeup, their hair done, their nails done, and they all go different places to get it done. So how about we have a girls' night and all your vendors are in one place and they all have studios in this building and you have your bridal party in the place and then you go to my event space and have your wedding. And once I didn't know how to like market that at that time because I got this building, I'm like, I gotta get this building filled.
Yes.
So I said, okay, I'm a mom. I have 2 boys, and I don't have time to go spend an hour drive to this place, an hour drive to this place, and then you hours in that place getting services. So let me create a place where right after COVID that I can get all my services done in one building, and I have a self-care day.
Oh, I like it.
As I started,
Smart.
now that made me think of, okay, I want a nail tech, I want a hairstylist, I want an esthetician. So I started seeking those individuals. And as I did, I found out they were going to people's homes and doing those services because we're right out of COVID. They created this business,
Yes.
and because they wanted to get away from their job, and now they're putting their families at risk. They're putting themselves at risk
Right.
because they're going into homes, they're bringing people in their homes. So now I'm creating a place in the community that's a common place that I know is clean, and you can service your client. There's no different than you going to their house. And so it kept changing, right? It kept evolving. And then it became, well, this is my hobby. This is what I've been doing to make the money while my job cut my hours back. But I don't have an LLC. I don't have
Mhm.
anything to run a business, but I have my certification because I did it during COVID. The girl was having virtual classes, or the guy was having virtual classes. So I'm like, oh, I know how to get your LLC. So now I'm mentoring them, and I'm convincing them that you need this space. So now they're leasing from me, and they have spaces, and they're making 6 figures or darn near it in a studio, and they get a receptionist. Now they got Mel coming there, and I'm connecting them with resources as I'm learning that now we have this environment where all these business owners all need the same thing that I'm seeking. So I'm going to share it with them. So as I'm growing, they're growing. And now they have legitimate businesses operating out of a space in the county. So it was accomplishing goals and figuring out what my target was as I developed my service. So how did I find my target? As I learned and developed what works for me, what felt good, that was my mission, what I was passionate about, not necessarily trying to figure out what got the money the fastest. I think that's more genuine, and it naturally attracts who is your target audience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So good.
Aaliyah, I
So
am
good.
curious to hear yours.
Oh, it's very similar. Again, I serve two different
Mhm.
markets. Of course, the child care programs, it's kind of a given in a way, because we're not for everyone.
Right.
Mhm.
Here's the thing: if you are someone who may be a part of a generational business, a family business, or something like that, what I learned was it's so interesting, and I believe that's full circle because I was a product of my mother's childcare business, and
Yeah.
there's things about there's things that she had done that I never forgot. As her daughter, I was just home, but I never forgot how she did not play about hot meals. That whole cereal in the morning. No,
Yeah.
they had to have oatmeal, homemade chicken noodle soup. I will never forget that my husband, now we weren't married then, but that's how long we've been together. And
Wow.
he would come over, and this little boy was at my house for a couple weeks. This is back. We're talking about 15, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
He was there Christmas Day. Like it was such a family unit, and his mom was a trucker, but we had kids there that really I grew up with. And so all I could remember and Miss Linda was like, they called her the
Yeah.
George Jefferson of the neighborhood, right? She was like she had the businesses and everything. But all I could remember was community, family, and she cared and nurtured children. So when it came time for me to come into the business, I knew what she had done worked.
Mhm.
So I didn't try to change it. I just tried to figure out, okay, it's a different day and age. How do we, I don't even want to say perfect it, but how do we build on it?
Yeah.
So that was one. So if there were families who were looking for a particular setting, then that's our target market, if you
Mhm.
will. Again, we're not for everyone, but we are rooted in community.
Mhm.
Our families are required to do volunteer hours, and so it's a partnership. And so if you're looking for that, then that's us. So that's
Yeah.
our target market there. And then very similar with the coaching and consulting, I had to think back to, in all honesty, I'm my ideal client, who I was at the beginning, who I didn't know anything. And it was like, how do I build this business? How do I run this business? How do I grow it? How do I learn all of those things?
Yeah.
So I had to really think about the needs that I had and what I couldn't find and created it. And interestingly, what I think differentiates me from other coaches and consultants, especially in my industry, is that I'm living it. So I'm not just telling you what I did. I'm like, guys, let me tell you what just happened last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am in it.
Yeah.
And so I understand there. I'm not just saying I understand the payments weren't made last week through the subsidy program. We weren't paid either. So I'm like an advocate, but I'm like, we're going to do this together. I also invite them into my space. So my target audience, they are an extension of me. And I just serve them from the cup that I fill myself, and I'm authentically there. So if that's a fit for them, then, we're a perfect fit.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
For me, I think I found my first customer before I found my target market. I didn't even know what a target market was because I was coming from, I was working in retail and I was working in home care. I was working in retail and I worked in optometry. So me getting over to where I am now, it's like almost like a other side of the field almost.
Wow.
And then, but I learned a lot of stuff from working in retail and merging that with my art because I have my 8-year art major. So I think I found more, but I was good at keeping numbers and statistics.
Okay.
And I kept numbers on like every sale, every conversation, every consultation, everything like that. So I'm like a data-driven person. So all my numbers I would put in at the end of the year, and then like I think it took me like a year to realize, hey, I'm actually doing pretty well with this. I'm doing good in this section with this conversation, doing consultations here. I'm doing good here by doing marketing here, and I just kind of put it all together like from a data standpoint, and I created customer segments.
Okay.
And from my customer segments, it kind of geared me toward, okay, now I'm talking to this person, I can identify what type of person I'm talking to.
Okay.
And then that kind of geared me to, like, all right, well, where are these people found? So I kind of like did it backwards.
I was about to say backwards. You worked the process to see where that person came from.
Totally backwards. And then I was like, oh. And then that's how I was able to come up with my target market, because then from my target market, I knew if I go in this particular area and work with this particular demographic, and I know what I'm going to find out there, and I know which one of my services will do better.
Got you.
So going on what I'm doing in that particular time of the day, that service I know does better here versus here, and this particular thing does better here than here.
Smart.
And I like to enlighten people, and I like when I leave, like any of my clients, when I leave, like I don't call them customers, I call them clients. So any of my clients that I leave, I like for them to feel more like empowered to take care of their own stuff once I leave. I don't really necessarily they end up wanting me to take care of it and like maintaining it, but my biggest thing is like I want them to actually feel like I learned something today.
Yeah,
I'm a
like
learner.
that.
So like it's funny,
and they're gonna want you back.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a learner. I like to like learn new things. I'm always enticed by new things. So the more I got to learn, I was like, I know I like learning. So I like teaching every time I get an opportunity to teach somebody something.
I love that.
So we're ripping threes. Question number 3. Question number 3 is, love this one. What challenge did you encounter while scaling, and how did you overcome it?
I guess that's me, right?
That's all you.
Okay. Let me see. Scaling. So as we talked about the last episode, Jovace realized I told him I had 8 buildings. I think I realized it too.
I didn't know.
I've had 8 buildings in 5 years. So, and I was like, wait, count on my fingers, like, wait.
Like continuation.
So the challenge, I'm going to just take it and fly a different way. The challenge that I encountered was imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Because I scale and I keep scaling, and then I finally look back and when people tell me, oh my gosh, you did, I remember you back here, and I'm like, darn, I was there. So this is me? Wait, that article looks a lot like me. So that's me. I work and I'm focused on so many different hats. and so many different parts of me. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have self-care, I love learning. I'm everything to my tenants, my members.
Yeah.
So it's like, who am I today?
Mm.
You know, and it makes it difficult for sometimes when you go into rooms when you're scaling because you've scaled and you're going into the room as the learner and they're looking at you as, oh, wait till see what she says. You know,
You're looking around like,
and you're like,
who?
who? So that's the biggest challenge for me. Honestly, I don't think the things that happen in business, they're going to happen regardless.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how many buildings I had or where I'm scaling to. I feel like it's personal for me. The challenges I have encountered are me realizing who I am, me realizing how far I've come, me still realizing my value and understanding that no matter where I think I capped, I never capped. So it's hard. You always give me a sound effect.
Because I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
So that's the part for me is the biggest challenge is personal. And it continues to be personal. And for anybody who doesn't know, because I don't think I've said this before, the meaning behind the brand, right? I think I told you. I don't know.
I know it. I know what it is.
Okay, so the brand was created out of pain. I turned my pain into passion. So I lost my mother 10 days after giving birth on Christmas Eve. Oh. So every rose that you see when you walk in a building is her middle name. My name is not Born Marie Rose. I am my middle name and my mother's middle name, and the rose is her dedication in every building. So when I say it's personal and the imposter syndrome, it's because my pain was taken over and became a passion, and I just worked my way through the process through my grief. And so every time that people are like flourishing within the business and they say, oh my gosh, like, how did you think of this? It was beyond me. Because I'm literally working my business through passion and I'm passionate about what I do. So I wouldn't let it go. I'm not going to let it die. I want you to grow. I want you to be successful because it's tied into my passion. So there we go.
I love that. That's what you saying.
That was so good.
You saying the sound effect. The sound effect is me holding back from standing up and like yelling right now. I'm trying to let
that is so good. That's so good.
I only need sound effects because I'm biting my lip. I know if you're watching me, my lip is going crazy because I'm just.
I love this because we always like, wait.
So I love being blown away by one another. It's like you heard that story already. It's still so good. But I hadn't heard it. That's truly inspiring, and I can imagine so many people, have pain, not sure what to do with it. Even interestingly, mine is similar but not similar because mine was based on my mom as well, but it was more so like a paying homage. Like my whole goal was to be able to retire her, because in this industry, a lot of times people work and they work, and at the end it's just like you don't have anything. And I'm like, I need you to know that you don't have to do this. Like, you can work when you want to work, and you don't have to. And so that was the goal. And I think initially this work was so much about her until I got to the point where I was like, she's good. Now you have to figure out your purpose in this thing. What is your why? And it can no longer be her, right? Yeah. Because it was like, we're done. At some point she was yielding everything to me. So I'm like, well, she's fine. And I had to take a step back and say, well, what is my legacy about? Because it really was just, the legacy was to carry on her work. And it's like, her work is carried on. So what now? So it made me think of that. So I love this story. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I have a legacy question, so I wish we had it for you, because that would have been so perfect. For me, the most difficult time that I had in business, because it's labor, was labor. COVID killed us. Everybody came back. If you think people didn't want to go back to the office, people definitely didn't want to lift anything or move anything or anything like that. And it was right at that point where I was scaling, where I was going into from residential to commercial. So we're not just doing bags of mulch. We're now doing trucks of mulch. We're
That's
not
crazy.
doing 20-pound bags. We're now doing 4 or 5 yards,
Okay.
8 yards of mulch at a time. Sometimes 20 yards of dirt. So I mean, this is physical labor, and it's like, how do you motivate people and dig into something? I really had to dig in, which is crazy because when you said it, I had to think, what would I want?
Mm.
I hated working a 9 to 5. If I worked a 9 to 5, realistically, I probably was done by 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for that other 4 hours, I mean, I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs,
Yes.
trying to
Yeah.
look busy, you know, you wiping the wall behind yourself, touching. Oh no, I'm good. I'm working on this. So what I did instead was I came up with something. I said, you know what? I'm gonna take the 1099 approach, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hire a lot of subs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to incentivize them. And what we do with that is, I need people that do what they love and allow me to do what it is that I can do as a CEO to find the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find the work, take care of the contracts, do all of that stuff. And for you guys who just want to do the work and get paid and go home to your kids, I'm gonna try something different. I'm not gonna pay by the hour. I'm gonna pay by the job, and I paid up front. So it's like 20 down, whatever, 30 down, and you get the 70 when it's finished. Which is saying right from the beginning, it's on you now.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get
Ball
done in
is in
4
your
hours? You
Mhm.
get done in 4 hours.
Mhm.
You still won't get paid for the
I
40.
like that.
You want to
Mhm.
get done in 20 hours? You still get paid for the 40.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you now.
Yeah.
Which gave these guys such an incentive
I
to
love that.
move.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to scale so fast because now they get paid. They move at a rate because now they're not playing anymore. Nobody's sitting around. Nobody's
Mhm.
playing. Nobody's fake wiping down walls. Everybody's just moving.
Mm.
Wow.
And so when I realized they were moving, I pulled in more guys.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I went out and found bigger contracts, more work. And then that allowed me to get so much done at the same time because a project that would take people, I can honestly tell somebody, they're like, usually when you talk to a contractor and it's like, how long is it going to take to get this done? I'm like, 2 days. They're like, what? The other guys had 2 weeks. No, we're going to be done in 2 days.
Mm.
You're
And
working.
it's going to be done right. Oh, it's going to be done perfect.
Yeah.
Flawless, actually. It's going to be better than what that guy did for
I
2
like
weeks.
it.
So we can get jobs. Our turnaround time is like unbelievable.
Mm.
And our guys get paid. And they're incentivized to get done earlier. So if I tell them, because I've done the work, I know how long it should take.
Okay.
So I will tell them 7 days. But if you get done in 5, you still get paid the 7 plus a bonus.
Mm.
So money talks and all that.
I'd be
works
done
out.
in 5.
Right?
I'd be
done in 5.
That's what my biggest problem was labor. How I overcame it was paid by the job and not the hour. And that's how I was able to scale.
I understand
Wow.
that because, like I said, during COVID, I ran from work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I built my business the most during that time because they were like, it's time to come back to the office. And I was like, I'm not going back to that hospital.
Mm.
And I was like, it's time I want to be with my kids.
Yes.
And at that point, I understood that they didn't care. I was more focused. They were more focused on me meeting the need
Mm-hmm.
of the people I was serving
Yeah.
than my own family. And I was like, no, I think this is the time. So and I never forget the conversation of me telling my dad I'm quitting my federal job. And my dad was like, what? And I was passionate. And I spent that time showing him that I could do it. But at the same time saying, Dad, you raised me good. If it fails, I'll go back to work.
It's okay.
I will go
Yeah.
back to work.
Take the chance.
But this chance is what I need.
Yes.
And yeah.
Wow. I realized we have a
No.
I didn't even answer like the question. It made me think about too, even the pandemic, the scaling part, especially the childcare business. We had the
Oh
one
yeah,
site.
y'all had the kids and
Yeah,
the
oh my
mask
goodness.
and
Oh my goodness. And right before we opened the larger site, right before that. And when we scale, I think to answer your question, the challenge was scaling too big or too fast. So we had the first site and we had the opportunity to get a $300,000 grant to basically duplicate. So they wanted to expand high quality programs. And so I didn't necessarily want to expand, but I realized that at my current site, there really couldn't be any movement. So we had great staff, but they couldn't get promoted. I had the highest position and that was it. And so I'm like, I really want that opportunity. I had a vision, and I'm like, I want them to be able to grow. I want to be able to continue on this community partnership, all of that. And so we got the grant. And again, it was all about duplicating. But here's the thing. I had experience running a 58 child capacity site with about 15 staff. But where we were looking, we ended up securing a 25,000 square foot building for 200 children, like 40 staff.
She didn't say 2,500, y'all.
Right.
She said 25,000. Because I had to process the number. I said, wait a minute.
I had to process. I had to process it a couple years. I asked my husband. It took me about 4 years to drive up to that building and not get a sense of anxiety. Like it was like that moment. Like who has to? So I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
It took me a couple years, and so again, the idea was to duplicate. So we were just going to do what we were doing. We are 5 minutes from the sites. They're 5 minutes away from each other. The demographics are totally different. We moved 5 minutes up the boulevard in Northeast. I can't even call it a melting pot. It's not a it's so many languages, cultures, and we had never had experience with that. So what I thought was duplicating wasn't. So I had to figure out how to run this business. We thought we had the formula, but what I learned was they don't necessarily teach you that in childcare business, if you will. The saving grace was I was in Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses, and you have to have a growth plan. So I was able to live my growth plan. But the challenge was we grew so big, so fast, right? To go from 58 to 250 in 1 year was a lot. And so I had to learn fast and I had to figure it out. And so that pre-work, the great thing about it though, with having that grant, and so that support that you're offering, like to get the LLC, all of that stuff, when I say that was the saving grace. So the fact that you offer those services, people are get an LLC. Okay, great. But wait a minute. So you're saying I have to get, what do I have to do for city? What do I have to do with the state? What about federal? You don't necessarily get taught all of that.
No, you don't.
You don't. And so I was blessed to have the supports with the grant. They had technical assistance. And then I had the Goldman Sachs program, which was a really robust business. And that's when I learned that this is bigger than childcare industry. This is a business. And I had to learn how to be a CEO. And sometimes you learn it from experiencing it. And I was just in there swimming. I was like, okay, so how many staff are you supposed, I know from ratio wise, but how many staff do you need? At what point do you have an admin assistant? At what point do you at what point do you have an education specialist? We need a janitor? Who tells you that?
No, you learn it.
Yes.
Favorite word, CEO.
Yes.
That's
we
my
talk
favorite.
about that all the time.
CEO,
Yes.
none.
Because there's business owners and then there's CEOs.
CEO.
It's a whole
Yes.
different ballgame.
I had to learn.
Sink or swim
That
at
was
a
it.
fast pace.
That was it. And so when people see growth like that, it's like, okay, I see. And you be like,